Mr Buchholz.
Thank you, Chair. I have some questions in around credit cards. Before I do that, I just want to pick up on a couple of points that were made earlier on, and then I will finish with a couple of questions about your illustrious career, my friend. You said earlier on in your line of question that you said that Labor supported a Royal Commission, and to your knowledge, have Labor always supported a Royal Commission?
I believe Labor made an announcement, it was certainly the first week of April last year. I think the date was probably the 7th.
Do you ever remember a time when Labor were in government where they may have had an opposing position?
My recollection is that a motion for Royal Commission was probably brought on by the party of your absent friend next to you, Mr Bant, and I believe at that time Labor chose not to support it.
That's how I recall it. I want to ask you some questions about the credit card space. I want to understand how does the ABA communicate with bank customers, or is it information that's being harvested by the banks and channelled through, or do you independently pick data up from or commentary up from bank customers?
Sorry, I'm not quite sure I'm clear on the question.
One of your responses earlier on is that you made some comment about listening to customers.
Yes. Yep.
So my question goes to that: how do you listen to customers? Is it through what the banks have actually captured and they give that to you, or do you actually have another mechanism how you hear independently what bank customers are saying about the performance of their bank?
Well, we do hear from banks about the issues that customers are raising. I do media on a daily basis, and it's often around customer issues. That gives me a good sense of what at least the media thinks that customers are interested in. But we do on occasion, we did last year, actually do detailed research where we go directly to them, both quantitatively and qualitatively, and ask them questions about their views on banking.
Have you asked the market in anything in and around customers? Have you asked customers in and around interest rates on credit card, given that we've seen two of the major banks move in that space, citing that it's been customer driven?
Well, it's clear to me. I don't think we specifically asked that. I mean, we did ask open-ended questions for customers to identify issues that they wanted addressed. That was actually what threw up the real-time payments, somewhat to my surprise, I have to say. Threw up the real-time payments as consistently the one that customers raised in an open question. So, what would you like to see banks do better?
Yep.
I can't remember where in relative terms it fell, but I would imagine that credit card interest rates were there. It's certainly a topic with many people in the community.
Yeah, it does seem to be. Do you recall...
Not just those that you meet at the golf club.
Or church.
Or church, sorry.
Or the pub.
Or the pub. Or another religious experience.
I'm very busy. So with that feedback, do you remember in your communiques with the public as to whether or not there was a request for them to be able to reduce their limits online? Was that a high priority or below interest rate subsidies?
Look, I don't recall it coming up in the specific customer, but however, it has been an issue that consumer groups have been on at us to address.
Yeah, I've not heard it from customers, not directly, nor have I heard the wanting to be able to cancel dormant credit cards online. I just wanted to check with you if that was an overwhelming voice that you had heard from customers, or again, was that from industry groups?
No, that was from consumer groups. Consumer representatives have identified those as priority areas for us to address. I don't recall whether or in what context, whether it came up in the research we'd done. But it's certainly an issue that industry feels that it needs to respond to, given it's been raised by consumer organisations as a concern that they see consumers have. So.
If I could just add to that, when we did our consumer research that did test...
Sorry, can you just repeat that? Your microphone didn't come on there.
If I could just add to that, when we have looked at what customers wanted through our consumer research, it did come up. It's in a bunch of issues around making banking easy and switching and that kind of thing. One thing we have done as part of Better Banking is that we have a section on Have Your Say, which is another way that we're accessing direct feedback from consumers and customers. Before that, the ABA would receive letters from time to time from members of the public. The things that they have raised are generally issues around, interest rates, depending what the product and depending where you are in your life, whether you like the interest rate to be up or down.
Yeah, it's definitely front and centre for the traffic that I'm getting. Does the industry have a view on, when the cash rate's gone down, that the interest rates in that credit card space hasn't followed the same trajectory over the last 6 years? And in saying that, does the ABA welcome the two movements by Westpac and by NAB, ANZ, and the potential signalling by Westpac?
Well, on the second point, that's probably a product-specific question where we don't have a view. In terms of the credit card interest rates not following the cash rate, I'm sure you're aware of the view that we've expressed numerous times, which is that of all products, the cash rate is probably the least relevant to the interest on credit cards. So they've not ever tended to follow the cash rate.
They do tend to follow the cash rate in an upward trajectory.
Not necessarily. No.
Okay. I want to, just in closing, congratulate you on the term that you've served.
Thank you.
And ask you 3 questions on the way out. One of them being,
This is ominous.
what will be your enduring legacy that you have left the ABA?
To be honest, I think it's
Hey?
Is he in your golf club?
That's it.
the quality of the team. Well, the quality of the team I do leave behind, I'm very proud of, to be honest.
Yes.
And the fact that I pick up the point that I think Mr. Hogan made earlier. I have felt that I've been able to have very frank conversations with the leadership of the industry about their need to address the community's concerns. We are now doing that. We need to do more. But beyond that, I think it's probably for others to judge. Right.
Outside staffing appointments, what in your 7-year tenure has been your finest hour?
This one.
Of course it is, the last hour. More recently, One Nation leader Pauline Hanson indicated that Australia was in threat of becoming a third world country. When we look at third world countries like Burma, North Korea, Sudan and Libya, does the ABA have any comment on the strength of the Australian banking sector in comparison to third world countries? And are there any concerns that Australia will become, or share the concerns that Australia will become a third world country?
Well, we have a very strong banking system. The lesson out of the financial crisis was, while we did well, we should never take the strength of that system for granted. As for Australia becoming a third world country, well, I mean, we've heard these sorts of conversations before. I think Lee Kuan Yew once threatened us with being the white trash of Asia. Without commenting on the specific reference by Senator Hanson, I think it is important for us to actually every now and then have a little bit of those sorts of calls, because I think we do as a country need to be more actively planning what sort of future we want.
Thank you for your appearance here today and wish you well in your next career,
Thank you.
whatever it may be. Thank you, Chair.
Well, thank you.